The JonBenet Ramsey case. It was supposed to be a kidnapping. At least, that's what the ransom note said. On the morning after Christmas, inside a quiet Boulder, Colorado home, a 3-page ransom note was discovered, written on paper from the house, using a pen from the house, and left neatly on the staircase. The note demanded money. It threatened violence. It claimed JonBenet Ramsey had been taken. But the child never left the house. Hours later, 6-year-old JonBenet Ramsey was found dead in the basement. This is the JonBenet Ramsey case, a mystery defined by a note that never made sense, an investigation that went wrong, and questions that still divide the world nearly 3 decades later. December 25, 1996, the Ramsey family, John, Patsy, their son Burke, and JonBenet, attended a Christmas party at a friend's house. By late evening, they returned home to their large residence on 15th Street. According to the family, JonBenet was asleep when they arrived. Patsy carried her upstairs and put her to bed. Everything appeared normal. There were no signs of distress. No arguments reported. No indication of danger. It would be the last peaceful moment in the house. At 5:52 a.m. on December 26th, Patsy Ramsey called 911. Her voice was frantic. She said her daughter was missing and she'd found a ransom note. What immediately caught investigators' attention was how Patsy spoke. She didn't read the note aloud. She didn't finish reading it at all. She referred to JonBenet as missing, not kidnapped. Police arrived within minutes. And that's when everything began to unravel. The ransom note would become the most controversial piece of evidence in the case. It was 3 pages long, highly unusual for kidnappings. It demanded $118,000, the exact amount of John Ramsey's recent Christmas bonus. It used strange phrasing and movie-style language, referencing action films and dramatic threats. And most baffling of all, it was written inside the house. The pen and paper were returned neatly to their original places. Handwriting experts examined the note for years. Some believed Patsy Ramsey wrote it. Others said she couldn't be ruled out. No expert could say with certainty who wrote it. But nearly all agreed on one thing. The note did not behave like a real ransom note. And no one ever called to collect the money. Police instructed John Ramsey and a friend to search the house from top to bottom. Instead of conducting a methodical forensic search themselves, officers allowed civilians to move freely through the home. This decision would later be called one of the greatest failures of the investigation. John went directly to the basement. And in a small storage room, often referred to as the wine cellar, he found JonBenet. She was wrapped in a blanket. The kidnapping was over. The homicide had already happened. John carried JonBenet upstairs. Friends were in the house. People moved freely. Evidence was disturbed, contaminated, or lost. The scene was never properly secured. By the time investigators regained control, the damage was irreversible. The case would never recover. The autopsy showed that JonBenet suffered a severe head injury and was later strangled. The exact timeline was unclear. There was no definitive moment of death established. This ambiguity fueled endless debate. Was the injury accidental? Was the strangulation intentional? Was there more than one event? Without a clear sequence, every theory gained room to grow. Suspicion centered on the ransom note's handwriting, Patsy Ramsey's behavior, and inconsistencies in her statements. And John Ramsey, questions arose about his calm demeanor and business background. But speculations about Burke Ramsey's JonBenet's brother emerged years later, despite no evidence and his young age at the time. No family member was ever charged. Years later, DNA evidence partially excluded the Ramseys, but not definitively enough to close the case. Supporters of the intruder theory point to unidentified DNA found on JonBenet's clothing. Possible signs of a break-in. The basement window debate. Critics argue an intruder wouldn't write a 3-page note inside the house or leave the child behind. The intruder theory explains some evidence, but not all. Just like every other theory. From the beginning, the investigation was plagued by poor crime scene management, delayed interviews, leaked information, media pressure. The Ramseys became suspects in the public eye before evidence could catch up. Television debates replaced courtroom proceedings. Speculation replaced facts, and the truth slipped further away. This case refuses to die because every theory explains some facts. No theory explains all facts. Evidence was compromised early. Emotions cloud judgment. People still ask, was it an accident covered up? Was it an intruder? Was justice lost in chaos? No answer satisfies every question. JonBenet Ramsey was 6 years old. She was not a symbol, not a headline, not a theory. She was a child. Her case stands as a warning about how fragile justice can be when investigations fail, if the media overwhelms the truth, and evidence is lost forever. Until a final piece emerges, the JonBenet Ramsey case remains suspended in uncertainty. Thank you for watching this Mystery Grid deep dive. If you want more unsolved cases, cold mysteries, and investigative storytelling, subscribe and step into the grid, where every story is a puzzle waiting to be solved.